Breaking news out of Chapel Hill, Zayden High is not enrolled for the fall semester at North Carolina and will not be on the 2024-25 roster for the Tar Heels. What's it all mean? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into this live edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. It is Tuesday evening, August 27th, 2024. Coach Pat Kilby and I have already recorded tomorrow's episode of the show, a season preview of Seth Trimble. So I wanted to come to you live this evening as the news of Zayden High breaks. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. This live breaking news episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, guys, got to come together today with some sad news, and I want to just lay out the beats for you of what I have learned about the Zayden High situation. We'll talk about it, unpack it, and then look at what it means for the Tar Heels. I've got my scholarship chart ready for us to pull up and look at, and if we've got some time at the end, I'll take a few questions, and man, tough, but here we are. So here's the beats of this. About 24 hours ago, Monday afternoon, I was apprised of the fact that there had been something ongoing with Zayden High and that it was coming out that he would not be with the Tar Heels for the 2024-25 season. I have a source very close to the situation, and here's what I know from that source. And this is what I will say is the current plan. And I specify current plan because very obviously things can and do change very quickly in college athletics, especially now in the transfer portal era. So this is what we know right now as of 7:06 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. What is today? August 27th. Okay. Zayden High is not enrolled at North Carolina for the fall 2024 semester. The plan is that he will be back enrolled as a student in the spring of 2025. However, he will be redshirting the entire college basketball season. So Zayden will not play for the team even when he comes back in the 2025 spring semester. So the plan is that then he would be back with the team for the 2025-26 season. He will, with redshirting, will still have 3 years of eligibility left to be able to play 25-26, 26-27, and 27-28. This is related not to an on-the-court issue or anything like that, but related to an off-the-court issue. There is no legal, obviously when I say something like that, all sorts of bells and whistles and things start going off in everyone's brains. Let me just say this concretely. There is no legal trouble to the best of my understanding that Zayden is facing. And that's all we're going to say about that side of it right now. Look, this is a tough deal, right? You never want to see this. You never want to have to deal with it. And it's unfortunate anytime you lose a player. Obviously, last year, just ahead of the season, Simeon Welcher decided to decommit and ended up going to St. John's. So, we're not strangers to this happening. And here's another part of this for Zayden High that I think speaks very highly, forgive me of his character. From my source, Zayden could have decided to go to a different school last week, but he is choosing to just take this, accept it, stick around, humble himself, and then come back next semester. And then we move on from there. And so, as my source says, and I agree, man, this just shows a lot of character from Zayden in what he is deciding to do. Now, we have to be very as precise as we can in these situations. One of the things I saw immediately come out this afternoon as this news is another national college basketball media personality said that Zayden High had been dismissed from the team. That is not true, right? Like yes, he is not playing on the team this semester, but it is not a dismissal from the team because that would indicate like dismissed, can't come back, right? Like, so that is not the situation here. So that's where we have to be very precise with what we are saying and discussing. So that's the news. Zayden High, not with the Tar Heels. Zayden High, the plan to be back as a student in the spring and then back with the Tar Heels as a basketball player for the 2025-26 season. What I want to do now is pull up our scholarship chart. We're just going to go hopefully a tight 10 to 15 minutes or so here on the show. I'll see if there's any questions we want to get to, but just want to kind of quickly give you the information, talk about what it means for the on the court side of things, and then let everybody get back to their evening. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you might be listening back to this later. I'll put this in our audio feed. For those of you watching, though, with the addition of Tyjon Claude recently, Carolina had gotten up to 12 of their 13 scholarships. So this just simply moves Carolina back down to 11 scholarships utilized, meaning that Elliot Cadeau is the lone sophomore on this year's team. I have put Zayden back into the mix for the next 3 seasons following this year, just with that redshirt designation by his name. But this would then put him in the class with James Brown, Ian Jackson, and Drake Powell. So the big thing is, there had been some buzz and some movement of hope of more playing time for Zayden this year. He's made comments of like, I'm going to try my best to force Coach Davis to play me and not keep me on the bench. And I love that energy and I love that attitude. Obviously, Zayden's got an Energizer bunny motor that goes for days and days and days, and just could have brought some things this year, especially in a front court for North Carolina that has a lot of questions. As we all know, this North Carolina backcourt is absolutely loaded this season with the return of RJ Davis, sophomore version of Elliot Cadeau. Seth Trimble entered the portal and decided to come back for his junior year. Ian Jackson and Drake Powell bringing in all of their freshman energy and talents. Cade Tyson, who will play on the wing, right? But just all this talent at the 1, 2, and 3 positions, but the question mark all along has been at the 4 and the 5. So with Zayden High not being part of the team, it leaves for Carolina in the front court Jalen Washington, Jalen Withers, Vanderbilt transfer Van Allen Lubin, Georgia Tech transfer Tyjon Claude, whom I just mentioned, and then the third freshman, James Brown. And then there's obviously the conversation of, does Carolina go small ball, maybe play Cade Tyson at the 4, maybe play Drake Powell at the 4. Those are some of the other things we'll watch. And so, for Zayden High, obviously, I think he would have had chances and opportunities within that mix. I don't believe he would have been a starter on this team, and I don't even think he would have been first or second off the bench, but I do believe there was opportunity for more playing time and for him to carve out something of a real niche for himself this year. Specific what that would be, I don't know, and I can't say right now, obviously, because it's August 27th. But, it leaves something on the board. To the positive, specific for Zayden with his basketball development, sorry, I got disconnected. Everyone, back here with you on Locked On Tar Heels. Sorry, what I was saying, this does give Zayden the opportunity to continue working and growing and developing and be ready to come back with the team for next year. So let me pull our scholarship chart back up. I apologize again for getting booted out there. Internet, man, it's crazy sometimes. And so there is that side of it. We can watch to see how that allows Zayden to have maybe even more of a role on this team over the course of the next 3 years. Another issue this causes, is that it brings into stark relief all the other front court misses that the Tar Heels have had this offseason, seeing how, there were all these opportunities and hopes that Carolina had. And, thankfully you do have guys like Van Allen Lubin who have come in, and Tyjon Claude more recently. But, having not gotten your Jonas Adus or your Cliff O'Moreys, that comes into bold relief. One thing that we do have to think about as maybe a potential silver lining is this does unmuddy the front court picture some, right? It makes it pretty clear and apparent. You've got these 5 guys in Jalen Washington, Jalen Withers, Van Allen Lubin, Tyjon Claude, and James Brown, right? Like that's the only guys in that mix, along with anybody that might play, again, a small ball 4. So we'll keep our eyes out for that to see what happens. All right, gang, what I do want to do is get to your comments to see if there's any questions you have that I can answer. And so we're going to do that coming up in just a second. But before we get there, I do want to tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. Hey, you've heard me talk a lot about FanDuel this summer, America's #1 sportsbook. Usually this summer, I've been filling you in on the opportunity to get a boost or a bonus every day from FanDuel. Well, got something a little different for you right now. Right now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and then you can cancel at any time. Man, how about this line for Carolina at Minnesota tomorrow night? FanDuel did have Minnesota favored. Now it has flipped, and the Tar Heels are favored tomorrow night by 1.5. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's pull up your questions and see what kind of things we've got here. Obviously, just a lot of people sad and things going on. And T-Man asks this question, says, will Zayden be able to sit on the bench next semester, or is he not allowed to do anything with the team? My guess would be that since he is redshirting, that he would not even sit with the team. I would imagine there are opportunities to work out with the team, but I'll need to work at verifying some of those things, and we'll get to that. But that's a great question there from T-Man. All right. And so what else do we have here? CJ Hooker says, and I'm with you, CJ, this absolutely hurts. Hope the kid can bounce back from this. And I think this is where we have to stop and just remind ourselves of this. Zayden High is not a robot. Zayden High and his family and their friends are human beings and going through something very real right now, right? Like you and I, if this kind of thing happened in our life, we'd be able to just quietly go away for the semester and then come back or whatever it is. Because of the public nature of student athletes putting themselves into the spotlight like this, there's going to be criticism. There are going to be questions. There are going to be assumptions made. And I would just ask you to, and all of us, to the best of our ability, to not make those assumptions, to not jump to conclusions without having true and like information that we know and can take to the bank. And so, I'm with you, CJ. It hurts. As a fan of the program, it also hurts as you just think about this young man and Zayden and what he and his family will be going through. So our thoughts go out to him, and also the idea of hope the kid can bounce back from this. Like, for example, Meat Tooth says he will not be back. And that's the sentiment that's been echoed to me by a lot of people already is, look, in this day and age with the transfer portal, I don't think Zayden will be back. I think, he's going to end up going somewhere else, or he won't be able to come back and play. It's just all these things that people speculate on. And it's just impossible to know right now. Again, I want to reiterate the fact that he potentially, could have gone on somewhere and chose to stay and work through this, I think speaks miles of Zayden. Now, when the transfer portal opens next year, at this point, we just don't know what's going to happen. And so we'll have to wait and see on that. And our guy, the Nintendo Nerd, always great to hear from you, Nintendo Nerd. And this is just a great way to kind of sum this up. This is a personal issue, not a basketball issue. I'm more concerned for Zayden and any parties involved than I am about our basketball season, even if we need to discuss that. And I love this sentiment, man. Thank you, Nintendo Nerd, for just putting that front and center for all of us as we think and talk about this. For those of you who might or might not be aware, I also have been in ministry for a long time in my life as a worship minister. And one of the things that I always say to like the musicians and instrumentalists in our bands is things like, man, I love who you are, and I'm grateful for your skills as an instrumentalist, but who you are as a person matters more to me. And it's that exact same kind of thing here. Who Zayden is as a human and coming back and working through this matters infinitely more than what he could or would have done on a basketball court this season. So, brother, our thoughts are with you. Hi, family. Our thoughts are with you as well. All right, that's going to do it for tonight and this quick update on the Zayden High situation. Want to remind you, I said this on Twitter, we have a brand new Locked on Tar Heels insider program. I sent this information out yesterday, about 24 hours ago, to our insiders, so they already knew about it. If you'd like to be involved in that insider program where you can text directly back and forth with me, where you have all sorts of access to things like my scholarship chart, all my stats, all my data. I keep a whole bunch of different spreadsheets, whole bunch of record book type stuff, and you have free access to that when you join the insider program. Right now, the first 23 people that sign up, yes, that's a Michael Jordan thing, get 4 free months. And then after that, it's just $5 a month to be part of this. It's like buying me coffee so we can hang out and chat once a month. And it's also a great way to support the show. If you haven't subscribed to us on audio and video, man, that's a great way to make sure you don't miss a single second of the Locked on Tar Heels podcast. Also, we have a great Discord that just crossed over 400 members literally earlier today. It's the Locked on Tar Heels Discord family. I always say, come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community, man. It's free to join that, and the link for it is in the show notes. As always, I want to remind you that it's a great to be a Tar Heel. We're going to be back again together tomorrow with Pat Kilby and I discussing Seth Trimble ahead of the season. So until then, peace.